We are live for a new episode of the Electrek podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Wintram. How are you doing today, Seth?
I'm good.
All right, glad to hear that. I want to give a quick thank you to this today's episode sponsor, Upway, a leading online e-bike provider carrying the broadest selection of brand new and certified pre-owned e-bikes models. We're gonna have a little bit more to say about them later on the show, so stay tuned for that. But we're gonna jump in right into the news as we usually do. And maybe what do we have on the docket today? Yeah, we're going to start with a little update to if you weren't on the last special episode earlier this week of the Electrek podcast, a new bonus episode that we released on Tuesday, I think it was. Did we post the audio now? Or can people go back and listen to the audio?
It actually hit the stream, so.
Okay, so yeah, we people could see the video and all that, but we actually forgot to post the audio. So the audio is now available if you want to listen to that, where we go into a lot more details. But as we discussed on that episode, we're gonna say, all right, we're gonna leave this for a few days and see if we get an update on the podcast on Friday, which is now, depending on when you're listening to this. And basically there's not much of any updates, like quick recap of the situation. Elon, people talking about Tesla, especially Tesla investors, Elon fans talking about a new compensation plans for the CEO compensation plan for Elon. Tesla fans pushing for it, which makes sense. It doesn't have a compensation plan right now. Apparently, the hold up is that there's the case for the old compensation plan that was trialed last year, or no, even the year before that, in 2022. And the judge has yet to give it our judgment. I think it's a female judge. Our judgment on the case of Tesla shareholders saying that the compensation plan was excessive. So he might have to give some money back, which happened on the board compensation plan last year, now in 2023. So there's a chance that the judge could rule the same way on that case. So the board is waiting for that to give Elon a new compensation plan. Anyway, amid those talk of like these people like pushing hard for the richest man on earth to get even more money, Elon commented out of the blue, really, that he wants more control over Tesla. So he said that he wanted 25% voting control. Right now, he has about 13%. He has about another 7% that would come through unexercised stock option from the previous plan. So he hasn't exercised all his option for the last plan. The trenches have come. So you could get around 20% right now. If not even, because after exercising those options, he would have to sell some for tax purposes, unless he has other ways to pay that. But I don't think he's flush on cash right now. He doesn't talk like someone who's flush on cash, at least.
No,
poured a lot of it in Twitter. Anyway, so he's asking for 25% voting shares, which would require the board to approve a new, very generous compensation plan. Now Elon has like framed it that it's not about money. He said it's about the voting control. He even said that he would be open to the second class of shares that give him like more voting rights and not actual value, which is a nice thought, but in practice, post IPO, that's basically impossible to do. So it's not there. It's more money. He's gonna get more money and more voting control. Where things get a little bit tricky, because you're perfectly allowed to ask for more money as the CEO of company. It's a negotiation and everything. You can decide or not yourself if it's excessive. But regardless, where things get trippy is that Elon said that he feels uncomfortable building AI products at Tesla without having that voting control due to some kind of possible threat of an hostile takeover of the company that would give the control to an unnamed, unmentioned entity, the super powerful Tesla AI, and then do bad with it. That's is logic behind it. Then he had on top of that he would prefer not to build AI product at Tesla unless that happens. So basically saying that he's going to build AI product at XAI rather than Tesla. So on the podcast last week, we we kept an open mind. Like I re-listened to some of parts of it, and of course we're being called Elon haters and Tesla haters and all that for it. But for the most part, our point is that this sounds like a breach of his fiduciary duty, because he's saying that unless you give me more money, I'm not going to build products at Tesla, and I'm going to divert those products to another company that he owns and he has more control over, and he's going to do that again unless he doesn't have a 25% voting shares. We asked on the podcast, is there a credible argument from the Elon fans, the Elon defenders, against this being a breach of fiduciary duty, against this being a conflict of interest? And honestly, over the last 3 or 4 days since then, I have not seen that. I have not seen that at all. The only thing that I've seen that could make some sense, but I didn't exactly get that from Elon's comment, is that some Elon fans are claiming that it's not a conflict of interest, not a breach of fiduciary duty, because he didn't say that if he doesn't get the 25%, he's not going to do that at Tesla. He's saying that if he doesn't get the 25%, he's going to quit as CEO of Tesla, and then that's going to be okay. That's an extrapolation from what he's saying, and I don't think he said that he's going to quit being CEO at Tesla. But yes, technically, if he were to do that, then I guess that would be fine. It's just that it's not what I got from his comment. Do you see that possible based on his comment?
Yeah, I mean that's technically true. Like we probably should read the comment really closely, but I don't think that's what he meant. Like it really doesn't sound like.
Really, the bulk of it is, I am uncomfortable growing Tesla to be a leader in AI and robotics without having 25% voting control. I clicked on it here. Enough to be influential, but not so much that I can be overturned. Unless that is the case, I would prefer to build products outside of Tesla.
Okay.
So
yeah, I guess
saying that you would prefer to build products outside of Tesla is not saying that you're going to quit. It's saying that around the AI product environment, which he says that Tesla is an AI and robotic company, by the way, he's not going to participate in that as CEO of Tesla so far. He didn't say, like, unless that's the case, I would prefer to build other product at Tesla, and that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to quit Tesla. Like the quitting Tesla part is not clear from that comment.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. So, like, if that was the case, if that is the case, the board basically has a ultimatum. Give him a lot of resources, like a lot. Like, I think I read somewhere, I may have pasted it in Slack, but he made something like 6 times the next 200 most well-paid executives on Earth combined.
In 2021, which was the year that he got the biggest chunk of his exercise shares from that original stock.
The top 200 global combined times 6. So 6 years worth of the top 200 he got in 1 year.
Yeah.
It's like a order of magnitude, 2 order of magnitudes bigger compensation package than anybody's ever gotten anywhere.
Yeah. Which kind of makes sense why he wasted some on Twitter after that. Like, it's like so much money. He's like, all right, like I can afford buying a social media platform. Like, well, let's do it. And then he screws up. And instead of like, oh, all right, let me regroup and everything, he's like, give me more shares again.
Yeah. And I was thinking about this. What if he got all the shares he's asking for, and then he just plowed more money into, sold a bunch of them, and then plowed more money into keeping Twitter alive?
Yeah, that would be. It's not impossible. I mean, you could make the new plan with some kind of restriction in terms of share sales and all that, but there has to be limits on those, because he's gonna have to pay taxes when those shares exercise.
Right.
Yeah. So speaking of those quotes that you sent me on Slack, I mean, it's interesting because I mean that's just us. Like we on the last podcast, we thought it was important enough to do a special episode because we felt strongly that he was in breach of fiduciary duties, or at the very least, a clear conflict of interest. So we thought it was worth discussing. But we are just a bunch of bozos on the internet. We're not law professors. So it's nice to see that the law professor seems to agree with us. So Mrs. Ann Lipton, professor at Tulane Law School, said that the problem in his tweet suggests that his capacity now as CEO and director is not only turning down profitable Tesla opportunities based on his personal preference, so that the personal preference part is like, it's more in reference of what he says, that the risk of AI, he wants to be in control of that risk of AI here. But also redirecting them being the profitable opportunities for Tesla, to his private companies, XAI. That's a conflict of interest that suggests a violation of his fiduciary duties to Tesla. So pretty strong words here. Then we also have a research analyst at CFRA, Garrett Nelson, saying Musk is attempting to reconvert control that has been lost from his stock sales to found Twitter. We view Musk's demand as posturing ahead of the Delaware court ruling regarding his prior compensation package. This is, I found an interesting point, because I've noticed that from Elon over the years. He is extremely proactive when it comes to that stuff. When he sees something happening, he's very opportunistic. He's very like, all right, let's get ahead of this. He's very good at that. A good example is that stock sell from 2021. Like, he knew that was coming. He knew that he needed to sell a bunch of Tesla stocks. And because there was a big trenches of his stock option that had the exercise limit coming, and so he was not able to pay the taxes on those. So he was going to have to sell part of those in order to cover those, what was going to be a biggest tax bill of all time, no matter what, because of what you just mentioned. Like, it was the biggest payday in history, basically,
by a huge margin.
By a huge margin. And instead of just saying straight, like, say it like that, which is problematic for a few reasons. Like, before that, he had big stock option happens, but he was actually borrowing money from banks against his existing Tesla stock, his existing stake in Tesla and SpaceX too, to pay for the taxes on those stock options, so he wouldn't have to sell any Tesla shares, which is good for Tesla shareholders, obviously, and just from a market perspective, but also on just for it's good look. When the CEO sells shares, it's not a good look for a company. So the fact that he was doing that, now he couldn't do that anymore. And if you remember that when I shut down that Tesla podcast that he went on, because the Twitter account run by Omar at the time was like going crazy about me saying that he's gonna have to sell some shares. That was all about that. Like, the Tesla super fans, like, they didn't want that to happen badly, so they were even lying about him needing to sell shares. So Elon is smart. What he does, he reframes the whole situation instead. He go around that time, if you don't remember, 2021, 2022, lots of talk, especially from the Democrats, from the left wings, political politicians. They were talking a lot about taxing unrealized gains, which was pretty wild idea, to be honest. But anyway, they were saying that you need to tax the rich more, you need to tax unrealized gains, and they were using Elon as an example and everything. Elon was talking about that. So at the time, what he said, instead, all right, let's reframe this. I'm going to say that I'm going to sell 10% of my Tesla share if a Twitter poll agrees with it, which obviously it did. And then he basically framed it. You say, okay, you want me to sell my share? It's on you. You guys want me to sell my share? And I'm going to do it. And I'm going to voluntarily pay the biggest tax bill of all time, which he was going to have to do anyway, because, again, those exercise option was coming. So he's very good at reframing the situation like that. And it's probably what he's doing right now. So I don't know if he's concerned about the result of that court case, and he probably should be, because of the board ended up having to settle. And so I assume that the board was seeing the writing on the wall, and that the judgment was coming against them. So maybe the same thing's going to happen there, which would require him to give back shares to Tesla, which would make him even further away from his goal.
Right.
So of owning 25% voting control. So maybe now he's trying to use this AI threat, this hypothetical threat, as a way to rally his fans behind him getting control back over the company. Which again, no one has more control over Tesla right now than Elon Musk. He's a CEO.
Nobody
He's the
has
largest individual
as much
shareholder.
control as Tesla or he has over Tesla. No CEO has as much control as he has.
Well, to his point, and that's Elon says, Zuckerberg, even though he doesn't have that big
Voting shares,
of
right.
ownership of the Meta, he does have voting shares, the dual class voting shares, which give him a lot of control. So there's that. Elon, to his credit, was able to retain an excessive amount of ownership over Tesla, even as a massive company. Which is extremely rare to do. Then he screwed it up through the Twitter acquisition. It's as simple as that. Like, he doesn't have anybody else to blame. Well, maybe you could make the argument that Twitter is to blame, and Twitter was really lying about the bots and all that, and they screwed him over, selling it $44 billion. You can make that argument, but at the end of the day, it's Elon's fault for falling for it.
Right.
Like, throughout the whole time, we're not expert, we're not billionaire, we're not like social social media expert, financial expert, and we were all saying, is he crazy buying Twitter $44 billion? We were all so. It's his fault for falling for it. So yeah, I like this guy's argument, Garrett Nelson, about Elon probably like posturing up, like setting the stage for what's going to happen after that, and the negotiation with the compensation plan.
I mean,
it's going to be interesting to see.
Even with like he was going to be at like 23% with all of his options. Like, he was pretty close to that 25%, already. Like, when he exercised those options, he would have to pay taxes on those, and the only way he can pay those taxes is probably selling shares of something. So maybe he wasn't going to end up with 23%, but he was going to be pretty close at 23% to the 25% threshold. So
I might be mistaken, but I might be mistaken, but I think it would be over, if no sell share for Twitter at all. I think it would be over 25% with the current
no, I'm saying
stock option.
He has some Tesla options that are coming due that
Yeah.
will give him 23% share of the company.
Yeah, I think it's about 7% right now that it would boost his stakes from 13 to 7. And he had to sell 5 percentage point just for Twitter. So like he would have been over 25, just over, I think.
Right, he would have been with Twitter, but I'm saying like he has options, and his shares after the options, regardless of Twitter, was pretty close to 25%.
Yeah.
So, but I think maybe he's saying this because he may be hearing some things from the Delaware court, like, hey, you got to give up 5% of your shares, or something where it would put him farther away from 25%.
Yeah. Gary Black, who's a Tesla shareholder and like a bit of a, I don't know if you can say activist investor, but
he's kind of a stan investor.
Stan investor, but I mean he's not all in on the Elon bandwagon. Like he does push back sometimes, but yeah, he's not also the biggest critic. But he did have an interesting breakdown of a solution for it, which probably is like the best case scenario possible for Elon fan. If you can get over the fact that Elon threatened to break his fiduciary duties to Tesla shareholders, like if you can get over that, this would be the solution. If I can find it. So he said that the board could package together a path for Elon to get 25% voting control over a multi-year buyback plan. So he's been pushing for a buyback plan at Tesla, and like kind of his opportunity to do it. He says that Elon has an existing 13.4% stake in Tesla. He says he can exercise his 8.6% option stakes to pay the taxes, which will leave him with a 4.6% on top of it. So yes, it's 4.6% really that you can get on top. So now you end up at 18%. Then you give him the new CEO compensation plan that would provide for another tranche of option at 5% net of taxes. So it would still be it would be almost like 10% Tesla, the 10% of Tesla's, the whole company as a whole, which is like $60 billion compensation plan you're talking about. So you're still talking about a pretty crazy compensation plan, though a little bit less crazy than the last one. So I'll give that to Gary. And then to complete the last few percentage points, at 3 percentage points, Tesla can buy back 8% of its share over 5 years at an $80 billion cost, which would be 13.4% plus 4.6 plus 5 divided by 92%, which equals to 25% of the shares of the company. So the logic holds up, but it's pretty wild. So the last podcast, if you missed it, I said that this might be the thing that I'm like, all right, I'm not on board anymore with Elon being CEO of Tesla. I think he's a net negative for the company over a positive. If you do that plan instead, the only thing where I could get on board is if the board like finds their pants, like they put their pants on and their big buck pants, and they're like, all right, Elon, if we give you the roughly $60 billion compensation plan on top of this, you have to sign this contract, this CEO contract that includes you not doing anything at XAI that has anything to do with Tesla. Stop recruiting Tesla engineers for your other ventures at XAI, Twitter, and all that, and spend a dedicated amount of time at Tesla, because there's rumors right now that his time spent. Like, I mean, let's be honest. You can be Elon's biggest fan, and you can be a Tesla fan, and you can still admit that he's probably spending less time than any other major automaker CEO at Tesla. Even if he's doing 80 hours a week total, the guy is CEO of Tesla, sort of CEO of Twitter. Let's admit it. Like come on, like let's not be idiots. CEO of SpaceX. He does work for the Boring Company. He is behind Neuralink. He is behind. I don't know if he's CEO of XAI, but he's definitely like working at XAI. I'm forgetting probably one or two.
Yeah. I mean, Boring Company and the Neuralink, and
Boring Company, Neuralink, XAI, SpaceX. That's 5 other companies. Other companies, and on top of Tesla.
It's kind of a joke.
You cannot tell me that he's doing 120 hours a week, so he's doing 40 hours a week at Tesla. I cannot believe that. I think Tesla deserves
a
full-time CEO dedicated to the company that is not blackmailing the company for more control and all that.
And more money. Yep.
Yeah.
I agree. All right.
I think Elon Musk should get all the credit in the world for advancing Tesla to where it is now, and I would be perfectly okay eating my words if you were to agree to a contract like I just said. I just don't see him agree to anything like that. He's king of the world right now.
Right. All right. We should move on, though.
Yeah, let's move on.
All right.
Cybertruck. We got 2 interesting range towing tests for the Cybertruck this week. We got this one here in some conditions. 6,000 pound tow. Of a Model Y, interestingly. So this one I had to do some work on it, because the person doing the test here, I'm gonna credit him for, if you want to go see the full video of it. It's called Voyage ATX. He's a new Cybertruck owner in Austin, and he posted what it looks like a U-Haul car carrier that is, I check on U-Haul's website, it's about 2,200 pounds. And then you have a Model Y, which is about 4,000 pounds. So just over 6,000 pound tow with a fairly aerodynamic tow, because you have a Model Y on it, which is a very aerodynamic car. And they did a full test on the highway. So it's mostly a highway driving. And they managed to drive 110 miles, and they went both ways, so against the wind and with the wind, just to be sure. 110 miles, consume 83 kilowatt hours for an average of 749 watt hour per mile. So if you do the math based on that with a 123 kilowatt hour battery pack, you end up with about 160 miles of range, towing about 6,000 pounds in like very normal condition, because this is Texas in the winter, so it's not like super harsh climate or anything like that. To be honest, it's probably about what I would expect around those conditions. To be fair, the tonneau cover was open. He wanted to keep it open because he had like new tags in the back window, so you couldn't see the new tags. He didn't want to be stopped by the police, so it makes sense. I don't know how much that would help while you're towing. Obviously, Tesla talked about like a 10% increase in range in towing if you 10% increase in range without towing if you have the tonneau cover down. With towing, I'm not so sure. Could be also some improvement with the 19-inch wheels. Tesla is now only delivering, as far as I know, only delivering a Cybertruck with 20-inch wheels. So the 19-inch wheels would be a little helpful. Well, yeah, that's it for that. Now we got another range test that is showing basically the performance in the worst conditions possible. A little bit of an asterisk, maybe. That's coming from Zach from Jerry Rig Everything, has a great YouTube channel. You should look it up. He borrowed someone's Cybertruck and did a range test where he's towing, again, with like a car trailer, a Hummer. And combined, he says it's about 11,000 pounds, which ends up being the towing limit of the Cybertruck. So you have like in terms of weight, at least. In terms of aerodynamic performance, well, obviously the Hummer is a lot less aerodynamic than the Model Y, but it has to be a lot more aerodynamic than a box trailer, right, Seth? Like if you have like
I would
a big
imagine,
box.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's maybe
space
not
there.
the worst condition, but it's freezing condition, so it's cold. I think he's in Utah, if I remember correctly, Jerry. And the max towing capacity. So what performance did he get with that? He got 90 miles of range, going from 100% to 2%, using 108 kilowatt hour for an average of 1,193 watt hour per mile. I mean, I don't know about you, Seb, but I've been driving EVs for a long time, and I always like to look like at the most efficient EVs possible. I like to drive them the most efficiently possible, and I've never seen 4 digits for an efficiency.
Yeah, I mean, that's like Tesla Semi type of kilowatts per mile.
I think you can get the Tesla Semi under 4 digits too. I think you can get it for like 900 or something like that.
Yeah.
So this is pretty crazy. So if you extrapolate that like we did for the other, you end up about 103 miles of range if you go for the full 123 kilowatt hour. Now, a few good points, and thanks to a commentator for pointing that out. Zach said that he garaged the vehicle before doing the test. So the vehicle was in the warmth in the garage just before he hooked it up, and then went with the Cybertruck. So that probably mitigated a lot of the range difference. So if you, for example, if you start out at 100% from a supercharger outside and then you leave right away, it's going to be probably a little bit harder. Or if your car is just parked outside and you start, it's going to be a little bit harder. Also, I think it's fair to like point out some kind of like more practical use case. Like if you're trying to do a long distance with a towing capacity at the worst case scenario. I like this idea of worst case scenario because it only gets better from there, really. It would make more sense that you start at about like 90% state of charge, and then you want to arrive, like let's say you're trying to do a long distance, so you arrive at a supercharger. You want to arrive normally at 10% or over like around the 10% mark. So if you do that, garage or no garage, you're probably going to end up with 70, 80 miles of range. So at the best case scenario, I mean, for these conditions, like full max capacity towing in the cold, you can expect about that before you need to stop, do another charge, and keep going. So it's not ideal, to say the least. Like there is a use case for it. Like it could work, but right now I think it's not ideal, especially for colder climates. What do you think, Seth?
Yeah, I mean, as long as you need to go far. Like if you're only towing a boat to the water and it's 50 miles away, it's not a big deal. So if you're doing long distance cross country towing, that's not great. Also, it should be noted that the Rivian R1T did a little bit better than that. I can't remember exactly what that was, but
Now, you said he did
um,
the same thing. He did about 100 miles with the same test.
I thought he said the Rivian did better. Maybe it was marginally better. I know
Well,
that
I mean, yeah, it did better.
because it
So
has
I
a
don't know
bigger
if he.
battery.
Oh yeah, if he got, I think he got to 100 miles, but he got it to like 2% also. Yeah, so yeah, I guess he did like 10 miles better. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
and the
he
Rivian,
did not do the extrapolation that I did to get like the full battery. Like if
right?
you empty the full battery pack,
But the
which you shouldn't
Rivian,
do, by the way. You shouldn't empty the full battery pack in those tests. I'm not encouraging testers to empty the battery pack to zero.
yeah, but the Rivian has a bigger battery and it's a little bit more aerodynamic, so it makes sense.
Yeah. What's the battery size on the Rivian? The big one?
140, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's the hope with the range extender battery pack. You could boost that quite a bit, like maybe get that closer to 140, 150 in those conditions again, which is a lot more useful. And then if you have better conditions, so not freezing temperature, and maybe you don't go 11,000 pounds, you go 8,000 pounds or something, which is
And
just
it's
plenty of use
aerodynamic.
cases for that. You end up with probably closer to 200 miles of range with the extended battery pack, and closer to 150, 160 without it, 150 maybe. So it's starting to be a lot more useful. Again, I like to focus on like the worst case condition, because then like it removes your range anxiety. So okay, I'm not going to do worse than that.
Should we do our sponsor real quick?
Yeah. Let's talk about Upway.
All right. Today's episode is sponsored by Upway, a leading online e-bike provider carrying the broadest selection of brand new and certified pre-owned models. The team at Upway has compiled a growing selection of top brands like Specialized, Trek, Aventon, and Gazelle, each priced up to 60% off retail to make electric mobility affordable to everyone. Want to sell or trade your current e-bike? Upway manages that as well. Each pre-owned e-bike goes through a rigorous inspection, tune-up, and certification by Upway's team of master mechanics and comes with a 1-year warranty. Following your purchase, Upway will get your e-bike delivered to you 99% assembled within 1 week and accepts returns within 14 days in case the bike isn't the right fit for you. The process is easy. Now through January 31st, save up to $1,000 off a wide selection of e-bikes during Upway's winter sales event. Be sure to use promo code Electrek for an additional $100 off. Learn more at Upway.co. Huge thanks to Upway for sponsoring.
Yes, thank you, Upway.
Any good?
All right, moving on for the Cybertruck. Interesting situation in your hometown set of New York. There's a very difficult situation right now with the superchargers around the city, and it's apparently due to Uber and Lyft drivers. So the city last year announced like a big new initiative to convert the ride-sharing fleet in the city to electric vehicles, and they made. Well, they said that they made 2,000 new EV license available, but apparently the program like had to pause before they did the entirety. So from what I heard from two different sources, it's not clear, but it's about 5,000 or 6,000 of them that have been issued, and apparently most of them are Tesla vehicles. New Uber and Lyft using Tesla vehicles.
Yeah, and actually, also because it's New York City, not many people have chargers at home. They use the supercharger network.
Yeah.
A lot of street
So
parking.
they rely on the supercharger network, and also important to note this in on Manhattan and also part of Brooklyn and other boroughs. A lot of the superchargers are behind a big paywall of like a valet parking. So it's
Right.
like 30 to 50, sometimes I think $60 just to get your car to the supercharger. After that, you need to pay for the supercharging.
And then
So a lot of these superchargers are just not being used by Uber drivers for that reason, because they just cut into their profits, and not used by a lot of other people who just don't want to pay that. So it's more used by like very rich New Yorkers that own Tesla vehicles.
And also on top of that, a lot of those urban chargers are only at like 75 kilowatts.
Yeah, actually, all of them. I think those that are behind Valley and those big garages, I think they're all capped to 72. Uh, there are others in Brooklyn specifically, and in New Jersey. And I think the biggest problem right now is JFK, because JFK makes sense. A lot of Uber drivers, they pick up people in Manhattan, other boroughs, bring them to JFK, and then they use that time to charge. You're seeing some massive wait times, like we saw on X, people posting pictures of like 15, 20 cars waiting to charge, not getting to the chargers, just waiting to get to the chargers. A lot of those are, you can see them everywhere. We have a Revel, who's operates its own Tesla fleet for ride sharing in New York. We reported before that they build their own super hubs of charging station. They told Electrek that they saw a 4x increase in the public use, because they use them themselves, but also it's open to the public. A 4x increase in public use over the last 2 months. So basically, since this new initiative, because of those wait times now at Tesla Superchargers. So earlier this week, on Wednesday, Tesla implemented its congestion fee, which we discussed a few months ago when it was first unveiled. It's basically a $1 per minute fee if the supercharger station is full, if you charge over 90%. So basically, Tesla is encouraging shorter charging session, because the last 10% takes a lot more time than the first, like, maybe you can probably get the first 40% faster than you get the last 10. Just general rule of thumb. So Tesla implemented that, and it looks a little bit better. Yesterday, it looked a little bit better. Today is also okay, but I still see some wait time, especially at those two main ones in Brooklyn and in at JFK. Also, some other one like in New Jersey, there's also a bunch of wait time. Basically, every stations around New York that doesn't have valet parking or big like parking fees are seeing some wait time. So you see when you see this little clock here, that means there's wait time. When there's a number, that means the number of stations that are available. So you see 4 and 4 on the upper west side here in the in Midtown. It's there's only 4 stalls there. There's no one there basically, because they charge so much just to get to the station. So we'll see how the story evolves. If Tesla is planning 2 new stations in New York, it's not clear if it's going to be another like Valley station, or it's going to be like a bigger. I think they need to do what Revel is doing. Basically, they need to do like super hubs and have like big station that people use, because otherwise it's going to be a problem that's going to keep growing. Especially if they unpause that green initiative for ride sharing, and you have more vehicles coming into the fleet. And on top of that, Tesla is opening the supercharging network to other vehicles. It can get pretty nasty pretty quick. So it's something that we had a concern for a while, and we need to see Tesla just keep up with the demand there.
And they've done that in other cities, like in Los Angeles. They've built some big hubs, and they're doing that drive-in movie theater thing.
Yeah, but Los Angeles is so much more car friendly than New York.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, like, you really don't need a car in New York. In fact, you probably shouldn't have a car in New York. But that's just my point of view.
But like the ride sharing is not owning the car, so they are the ones that own the car, and right. That's part of it. It's people that don't own cars. Because probably everyone that did own a car in New York and had a good situation for it, it's like a parking garage. Like if they can get charging there, like they're fine. So a lot. Some Uber driver also reached out to me, and they say like they drove electric before this initiative, and he said that all the EV drivers that do ride sharing before that were people that had situation where they could charge overnight at their home, while a lot of the other people are like, especially a lot of immigrants that take these Uber driving jobs, and they arrive here and they normally don't have a living situation that can afford them charging at home. So they take those opportunities that Ubers give them to, like, if you have good credits, like you can get probably pretty easy into an electric Uber. But then the charging situation happens, and that's what we're seeing right now. Oh, DGM says he's keep losing the connection, probably on my side. Yeah, I think we've been good on our side, unless maybe you're on X. Maybe it's X the problem. It's not a slide at Elon right now. I'm just saying, like, the video feature is not the best.
Usually we'll get a lot of messages if there's a problem.
Yeah. All right, this was an Tesla Electrek exclusive earlier this week. We got some updates on the pay situation at Tesla. So it's pretty ironic within Elon starting his own weird negotiation about his compensation, but there's also a lot of negotiation going on at Tesla about pay. We reported more over the last few months regarding the factory workers due to the situation with the UAW, the United Auto Workers, that got the big wins against the big three automakers in Detroit. Got a 25% pay increase. That doesn't affect Tesla directly because they are not unionized in the U.S. But indirectly, it does affect them because if wages across the industry are going up, normally that increase wages at non-union places too. And Tesla announced pay bumps for the factory workers. They announced some pay bumps too for non-factory workers, both hourly and salaried employees. For the salaried employees, for the stock options, the employees that got stock options, we reported last month that Tesla stopped giving the normal stock compensation plan after the annual reviews last year. So that pissed off a lot of people. We got some people that were really not happy about that. We had the Tesla engineers telling us that that had a severe impact on morale at the company, and that a lot of people are discussing at the bar that the compensation they've seen in the past is not. You don't see that happening again at Tesla. Obviously, that's part of like the stock performance to a Tesla, because the stock options are linked to the stock performance, and it has not been great. So, in on January 1st, last month they were given their performance review, and they were given their pay bumps for the year. But a lot of employees were not happy with their pay bumps, even those that were given good annual reviews. They said that it didn't match with the inflation that we're seeing. Obviously, we're very strong inflation environment right now, so they were not happy about it. So on January 1st, Tesla, we obtained an email that Tesla sent to an employee in which they thanked the employee for the feedback on the pay adjustment, and they said that they value the feedback and they're going to do another review. And they promised that by January 15, they were going to give them an update on a new pay adjustment, because people apparently were not happy with the first one. However, on January 15, Tesla sent an email that didn't include the pay adjustment. They said that they needed another 2 weeks to do a market review before they do another pay adjustment. So by the end of the month, Tesla workers should get another pay adjustment. It's a bit worrying for me, because I think one of the big reasons that Tesla has been so successful is its capacity to attract talent, which has always been very good, and its capacity to retain talent. And if that is eroding right now, there's a problem, because if you look at all the factors that contributed to this attraction of talent and this retention of talent, Elon has been a big part of that. Very inspiring leader for the most part for decades, that got a lot of people hooked on Tesla. And obviously his reputation now, regardless on where you stand on that, you can admit that overall his reputation has been eroded. Then there's also the mission. Tesla is a big mission-driven company, but if the CEO is like doing 5 other things, and then also the mission was the EV revolution, and the mission was sort of achieved to a degree. Like, we know that now it's happening, and so it may be a little bit less excited to go into that. And then you have the money, obviously, is a big factor, whether you like it or not. You can be all mission driven, and like, if you don't put bread on the table, what are you going to do? And the stock performance made a lot of people very rich, a lot of employees very rich at Tesla. And maybe the new generation of Tesla employees, they don't see that happening due to the stock performance, and they don't see necessarily another 10x in stock performance that would make their stock option very valuable if they get any stock option, as we saw last month. So yeah, I think it's a potentially worrying situation. What do you think, Seth?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of things coming up. Like, it sounds like the United Auto Workers is going to target Tesla. Obviously Elon's gotten a little bit more polarizing, a lot more polarizing. So maybe the liberal people in the Bay Area may not be as excited about working for a right wing person. So there's just a lot of like interesting headwinds, like, and it's all like, it seems kind of like doesn't need to exist. because Tesla is so successful right now, and their product is so, the with the supercharging network and the, being able to build EVs for such a low cost and being able to build them in the US, versus like the Chinese ones that, are going to take huge taxes. I just think that Tesla is almost like eating itself rather than getting beat by its competitors.
Yeah, I can agree with that. All right, we have a few more news items that we're going to discuss. Then we're going to jump into you guys as comments. So if you have any question for us about any topic that we discussed today or any other subject in the EV space, you can jump into the comment section right now. I want to get to them in a few minutes. Jeep and Dodge unveiled their new EV platform from Stellantis. And nothing too crazy, obviously. Like it's just like it's the usual like skateboard platform and all that. Like there's nothing to go crazy about, but it does give us some details about the upcoming long-awaited EVs from Stellantis and specifically from these brands of Dodge and Jeep. And so what did they say about the STLA large platform? It will serve between 85 and 118 kilowatt hour battery packs. So interesting, because I think the Dodge Ram is not included in that. I
I
would
mean,
be
the
surprised
Ram's
if
going to be 200 something, right?
yeah. So it's not. So it's the large platform, but there's a larger one apparently, with a target to up to 500 miles, 800 kilometers for large sedans. Okay, so yeah, they warned that the SUVs are probably not going to get that much, I guess, by that.
Yeah, and
Uh,
Stellantis is late in the US to the EV space, but like in Europe, they're
yeah,
one of the bigger EV brands.
are they?
I mean, isn't they have a bunch of sub brands underneath them, and I believe those guys are big EVs, or maybe I'm thinking of something else because it was like PSA merged with. Um,
Oh yeah. You have the the Peugeot is in there. The Peugeot's in there.
yeah,
Because the Peugeot, yeah,
Renault.
they have a decent number of cars. But I'm not too familiar with the European market. They say that the platform supports 400 volts and 800 volt system. You can you can go into the article to get exactly what kind of range of dimension they can support with the platform, but that's pretty much it for what they release in terms of battery capacity performance for those vehicles. We got this quick sneak peek at the electric Dodge Charger that's supposed to come this week. There was a few images that were officially leaked by the company. Uh, I'm down for it. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, I mean they've shown like non-working models at the CES show and stuff. It's pretty
Mhm.
cool because it looks like it has a front end that's like like the Charger, but it's actually just like a front arrow wing, and it's quite aerodynamic.
Yeah,
It's a
so there's
it's cool design.
no like stealth camouflage on this. It's like
Yeah, and I believe I know some of them are from Dodge, but I think there's actually one running around that's actually being driven.
yeah, I think that's the one that's being driven, but
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like I think the hood is a bit weird and the fender here like is might be some like stealth camouflage on it. I'm not so sure. All right, we got some news from a Ford and the F-150 Lightning, which they announced that they are going to lower the production again of the Ford F-150 Lightning due to lower demand. So they said that around 1,400 employees at the Rouge EV plant will be impacted as Ford transition to one shift instead of two, and it's transitioning around 700 of its Michigan employee assembly plant, while other will be repositioned outside of southeast Michigan. Apparently just a few dozen employees will be like impacted, but because they're being moved around, so I guess impacted. There's more than a few dozen, but I guess a few dozen will be terminated. Is that what you're saying?
I guess, or maybe a few
Yeah.
dozen man hours or whatever, man
Yeah.
weeks are going to be
Because
moved.
cutting one shift is a big deal. Like it's a lot of people normally. But
Yeah, I wonder how much of this is due to Tesla's Cybertruck and obviously Rivian R1T and Dodge coming up, and the Chevy. The Ford F-150 was the only game in town for a little while, but Ford hasn't really We'll talk about the Raptor thing
Yeah.
coming, but like they haven't really done much besides like double the price of the
But
F-150
the
Lightning
Flash,
Raptor.
I thought when I heard this news, I thought it was like a bit premature because the Flash just came out. Like, they are
Right.
not seeing enough orders for the Flash? Like that,
I
that's
I
what's
guess not. It
signaling
just
me.
doesn't seem like they're doing a really good job of selling these things. I mean,
Yeah.
most of the people who have them, like if you go to the F-150 Lightning groups, they all love them. So I don't know why that these aren't doing as well as they should be.
Yeah. I mean, they see the order books, they see it coming. So I guess we have to trust them. Like, people, the Flash was not as popular as we thought it was going to be,
Yep.
because we thought it was going to be a great solution. And then on the higher end of the market, Seth just hinted at it, but what we thought for a second might be the Ford F-150 Lightning Raptor. It's not. It's called a Switchgear. The F-150. Oops, sorry. The F-150 Switchgear, and it's a performance version. It's from Ford Performance of the F-150 Lightning, and you have they only announced a few of the upgrades. So you get a better suspension, so very much like the Raptor. So specifically, you should get 37-inch tires, a new Fox 3-inch diameter internal bypass shock absorbers. So that's the suspension upgrade. New front and rear bumper. So the body has been changed with different angles for off-roading. I don't know if those seats are going to be in production, because this was like unveiled, announced, but there's no like actual like detail on pricing, availability, and all that. We might get that at the end of the month, because they're going to bring the car at the King of Hammers off-road racing event. So we might see we may get more detail, but in the meantime, we got just those few details and those pictures that are available on Electrek's website right now.
I mean, it looks pretty nice. Like it looks like a really fun vehicle, and it looks like it'll probably be a 6-figure at least price tag.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's not what's going to solve the volume problem for the F-150 Lightning. That's for sure. All right. Let's jump into you guys' comments.
All right, guys. If you have any comments, please leave them now. We'll start at the top. Glad to be here. And so Matt Fisher says that Elon's first salvo is just the beginning of the negotiations. And he's,
weird beginning.
starting very high.
Strong. I'm on $100 billion.
Yes. Dr. Evil style. Stated with plausible deniability. Legally will be a challenge to stop a work stream and move it over to another company. I mean, legally, yeah.
But that's not even the issue. I think the issue is more like, as soon as he says it, is like, all right, we got to assume that if Elon has a great AI idea, instead of bringing it to Tesla, he's going to bring it to XAI. And if Tesla is an AI and robotic company, that's a breach of fiduciary duty. That's
yeah. And I mean, we discussed this on the dedicated podcast to this, but like the fact that he even owns an AI company outside of Tesla is like, that's a big problem, because if somebody at Tesla comes up with a really cool idea, he'd just be like, oh, I like that idea. Or, like, oh, you figured out AGI. Yeah, I'm just going to take this laptop with me and see you guys later.
And how many people Tesla sued for exactly that?
Right, exactly.
Are they going to sue Elon now?
Right. EB1888 sounds like an Elon fan. He's going to get compensation. How much did he get? $1? I pay him because he's worth it. He can do what he wants with his earnings. Okay.
Well, that's true. He can do what he wants with his earnings, but
nobody's got
we can laugh at what he does with his earnings, like buying Twitter for $44 billion.
Yeah, and he can also ask for crazy amounts of money. That's not a problem. But the problem is saying, threatening to do other things that are, not.
You know what I thought was funny? Like, I got super over the last week. Obviously, I poked at Elon fans with my reporting on that, but I got so much hate for saying that he wasted billions on buying Twitter, and he bought Twitter was overpriced when he bought it, when he himself willingly admits that he paid too much for Twitter, and it should have been half that or something like that.
Yeah,
and
now he tried as hard as he could to get out of it.
Yeah, he tried to get until the court. It was obvious that the court was going to force him to do it. He was trying to back out. So I didn't invent that. Like, he agrees to that. The investor that he brought on board, like Fidelity, also agree with that. They reviewed the valuation at $12 billion, I think now. So like a fourth of what he paid for it. So don't get mad at me for that. It's Elon's
Yeah,
releasing it too.
maybe Elon can use that as a big tax write-off
Write-off, yeah,
for his other his big Tesla
for his next
winnings.
exercise of stock option at Tesla.
Right. All right. Maybe he is purposely suppressing Tesla's share price to make it cheaper to get him to 25%.
Well, that would
Okay.
be a breach of his fiduciary duty. So
Yeah, they were talking about stock buybacks as well as a means to get to that weird
yeah, well,
rate of 20%.
that's what Gary is pushing for.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Elon himself also talked about a $5 billion buyback plan at one point, but never happened. Tesla is sitting on like close to $30 billion right now.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
All right, thinking about it, 25% with him and his brother and friends would put him over 50% voting shares. I don't know if that's true. I totally believe he's blackmailing the board. It's now clear conflict of interest between Tesla and XAI.
Yeah.
Quit ragging on Elon. He's our raison d'etre.
Easy.
That's sad, dude.
Yeah, that's a bit sad. I was gonna say that.
All right. Bela says we were all talking about quality issues on Cybertruck, but now we were talking about Elon's 25% demand. It's a masterstroke of genius. He turned the conversation from Cybertruck problems. Maybe that's his intention, so he can buy some time to fix the quality issues with Cybertruck. Sometimes we get distracted, but the intention could be something else.
I don't know. I think it's more about setting the stage for the court ruling and all that.
All right, Joe, our colleague, is in, and he says if you assume he's spending 20 hours a week at Tesla, which he'd argue seems high,
I would agree.
What would his proposed comp plan work out to hourly? It would be in the millions and billions, probably billions hourly, which seems reasonable. All right, we got some math guy. 13% plus 7, 20, then minus 4. I don't know if that works exactly. Elon did not see the Cybertruck prototype until after it was finished. Is that true? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know what it might be referring to something from the book, but I don't know if that's entirely true.
All right, Jerry did a 0 to 60 launch uphill on a ramp. That sucks at a lot of range. That's true.
Yeah, but what?
That's just once. And
yeah,
in
but
the grand scheme of things,
half a kilowatt hour at worst, like it's still just like less than a quarter mile or something.
Just watched the video. Very good with a crazy result. Yeah, he did. Rivian was second and Ford was first in his test in range. So,
but it was all pretty close to be fair, though.
Yep. All right, we got the FYI, no Tesla safety report for any of the 2023. Still, despite Tesla tweeting on 12/11 referencing it, saying more detailed information will be publicly available in the near future.
Yeah, we discussed that a lot, and we think that Tesla is being extremely weird about releasing full self-driving autopilot data, including that safety report that they stopped publishing. They're just not a good look. Not a good look when you want to hide that.
Yeah. Not renew Elon comp plan, this time scaling market cap to $4 trillion.
Yeah, I mean, it's not... The idea is not crazy. It's just, personally, as a Tesla shareholder, it feels weird for me, like, to agree to that the way that Elon asked for it. Like, basically, he told us, he threatened shareholders, I'm gonna breach my fiduciary duty as CEO if you don't give me that crazy compensation plan. It's a weird way to ask, and it put us in a situation where, like, yeah, maybe you're not the best person to be CEO then.
Yeah. I mean, look at Tim Cook. He got Apple from under $1 trillion to, $3 trillion. He got a ton of money, in the tens, maybe even hundreds of millions of dollars. But that's a very small percentage of what Elon got in the billions.
And also, it's a good example of like maybe we need a Tim Cook now. Like maybe like Steve Jobs has
Yep.
done his work at Tesla, and now you need a Tim Cook. I had I had one of the craziest like Tesla supporters on Twitter, on X, whatever. Uh, Reached out to me, and she was like, "Oh, he was like, I'm not sure." Uh, oh no, Tommy. Tommy was his name. So he was like, um, it's gonna be like when if Elon Musk now leaves, Tesla is dead, and it's gonna be what happened with Apple when Steve Jobs left. So first of all, I was like, that makes no sense. Like Tesla now at a $600 billion company, very profitable, is not Apple in 1985 when Steve Jobs left. And then he came back. He's like, nah, I'm not saying in 1985. I'm saying when he went bankrupt in 97. But like that's two completely different like situation, and it makes more sense. Like that's after like 10 years that he was not there. And then he came back and it was very successful. Maybe we get that. Maybe we get Elon leaves for a while, gets his mind straight, and then come back. I don't know.
Yeah, I think if they put somebody in who actually knows Tesla pretty well, JB Straubel,
JB Straubel.
yeah, I mean, come on, guys, it's not that hard. All right, let's move on. The geniuses behind Tesla are the original founders. Okay, Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning. They did come up with the master plan, so I guess that's part of it.
Well, not the master plan. The master plan came later in 2006 with Elon. He's the one who wrote that master plan.
Oh, really? I thought. Well, I think the Genesis. I think that was their original plan, was to build the expensive one and then
Yeah,
the
there
middle
was.
one.
You can still find the original Tesla business plan out there from like 2004 when they first the first pitch deck to VCs, and it was not as fleshed out as Elon's master plan blog in 2006.
Right.
Now, a lot of people, like, there's two camps on that. You have the camp that was like Elon did everything, screwed Tarpenning and Eberhard, and you have the plan of like Elon just stole Tesla from Eberhard and Tarpenning. I'm more in the middle. I mean, I like Eberhard and Tarpenning a lot. I followed them since early on, and I always thought that they were like some of the greatest communicators for how electric vehicles can revolutionize the transport industry. Like if you look at a lot of the early talks, it's very good. Like especially for that time, like it holds up to this day. And also I would give them credit for being the first or being the biggest advocate for bringing lithium-ion battery cells into electric vehicles, which was a game changer, obviously. So they were pushing hard for that. Elon got the idea from them and JB Straubel, which was one of the first employees at Tesla, and then supported that. So great for Elon. And then Elon put a ton of money in Tesla early on. And when Eberhard proved not to be able to lead the company as CEO, he took over, and Elon obviously did awesome by taking over. And I think he deserves being credited as a founder of the company, because I don't think the company would be anywhere like it is today without him. But that doesn't completely discredit Eberhard and Tarpenning too. They did an amazing job also. Why we cannot just like be happy with it, like what everyone does? Why it has to be like Elon did everything or like Elon stole everything? Like they can be like a nice little middle ground in between.
Yeah, I mean, you can't have Tesla without the Tarpenning and Eberhard. Like it wouldn't
No.
exist. And then you wouldn't also have Tesla without Elon. So
Yeah.
they're all important. All right. Any word on version 12 FSD? Oh, we haven't talked about FSD much recently. Improvements are
No,
basically
because
non-existent.
V12 is super delayed.
Right. And basically non-existent from compared to pace of change last year, and vision only features still not at parity. I wish they would focus on level 3, not level 5. Yeah, I thought I saw something mentioned about version 12 in that the app update or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, it's just a new version of Visual 12 going to Tesla employees, so not much updated release notes on that. So it looks like it's still stuck with at the level of testing of internal testing with Tesla employees. Not just with engineering testing, but overall, like Tesla has a big fleet of like 15,000 or so employees that test a feature for them before it goes to the beta fleet. which V12 is not supposed to. I think Elon shot himself in the foot with that, like saying that V12 is like come out and not be beta, and now it's like, oh shit, like it's
Yeah, I mean
the only way it
redid
would come
everything.
out it would be beta.
I mean, it's a totally new, like it's like a new company, of like a new product, because
Yeah,
they got rid of what 300,000 lines of C code that was, and now it's all, so it's like they just started over, which
yeah,
is kind of crazy to think about, and also like kind of scary because like it seems like something went wrong. Sorry.
yeah.
All right, let's move on. Why not renew previous comp plan and scale market cap Colt to 4 trillion? Elon said he can eclipse Apple and Saudi Aramco.
We
4.
basically that's the same question as earlier.
Yeah.
Basically.
It's Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning who came up with Tesla's master plan. I think part
Also
of it.
same question.
Yeah, I know you guys don't want to talk much about it until it breaks ground, but what do you think about the Oklahoma lithium refinery news in Muskogee, Oklahoma?
Yeah, we did an article on this. It's good news for Oklahoma. Oklahoma's been begging for EV investment for a while, and I haven't been too lucky with it with Tesla and then with Panasonic, both like considering it and then changing their minds. So good for them to get in a nice money printing machine, as Elon would say, a lithium refinery.
All right. Regarding the laptop comment, maybe Elon should be forced to sign a non-compete agreement, just like all other employees.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying basically.
Yeah. Elon hasn't had a good idea since he decided to invest in Martin and Mark's firm. See, that's the other
Yeah,
side
you
of it.
see, like you lose me on that, like on that stuff. Like Elon is not like everything or nothing. He's somewhere in the middle, and probably somewhere closer to everything than nothing, but still not perfect and worthy of criticism.
All right, we have a lot about the non-competes. If my job is design electric cars, and if I leave, do they expect me to go unemployed? Or if I go back to college and learn something else, that's ridiculous. That's why non-competes aren't really enforceable in California and some other places,
Yeah.
but they are in New York and probably Texas. The blind following of Musk and how he can do no wrong by some people is a little scary to watch. I agree.
Yeah.
Stoked to hear more about Scout Motors. Any updates from them? Scout Motors is the Volkswagen new subsidiary, and I think they're breaking ground on their factory, and Scooter might be going out to that. I don't know when that is, but that's coming soon. So
Soon, yeah. So like you don't expect too much from Scout until probably like 2026. I would expect. Like it's gonna take a while for things to get moving, but I would expect like next year we're gonna see some cars or trucks rather. Like it's mainly set up for pickup trucks and SUVs, and then probably 2026 we start seeing some things on the road. But it's gonna take a while. Like they're basically like launching a new company, even
All
though
right,
it existed before.
anything interesting at the DC Auto Show starting today? I don't think we heard anything.
No, the Cybertruck. If you want to go see a Cybertruck in person, though, now you can see like them at Tesla stores and whatnot.
Yeah, or
there's one too at the Montreal. The Montreal Auto Show is there, and now the Cybertruck is there.
All right. Question: does Elon's current percentage include his stock options? I don't think they count until they are exercised.
Yeah, that's it. He's at 13 point something right now.
Yeah.
There's like 8%, I think, extra with the exercise one, but you're gonna have to assume that he's gonna pay taxes on that. So he's probably around like 18% total.
Yeah. Sorry about the effects of like I feel like I'm disappearing like on Back to the Future, but something's going on with the thing here. All right. Unfortunately, let's see. I think we're pretty much done with the good comments. Elon had all of Martin Eberhard's and Tarpening's interviews deleted from YouTube. Those interviews were really good. I don't know.
Can you prove that Elon is the one behind deleting those? Because
I don't know if. Yeah, they're two smart guys for sure. I don't know if I would go that conspiracy theorist on it, though.
Yeah, I doubt it. But I'm curious of going and looking for those interviews because they were especially those presentations that they gave at schools, like lectures at schools. They were very interesting. Anyway, that's it for us this week, everyone. I appreciate every single one of you that's been listening to the show. If you do enjoy the show, you can give us a like, a subscribe. All those things help the podcast. They're free to do. They take a second. If you're listening on your podcast app right now and you want to give us a 5-star review, it takes a second to do. It's free and helps the show more than you think. So that's it for us. We're going to see you same time, same place.